While we're having a bit of a content downtime in the Division 2, I've been checking out a few other games, and something you might not know is I'm a bit of an extreme sports nerd. You name it, I've probably done it, tried it, or fallen off it. So of course, when Ubisoft announced Riders Republic, a new game that smashes a bunch of mad sports together, I had to give it a try, and I have to say, it's good. Riders Republic is a new game by Ubisoft that takes mountain biking, skiing, snowboarding, wingsuits and rocket suits, and a bunch of other wacky stuff and lets you loose on a huge map with different biomes that all play into the different strengths of the sports. From massive snowy mountains, snow parks, mountain ranges, canyons, and locations that are based on a number of actual American national parks. You play as the new kid on the block, wanting to prove yourself and earn a place in the Riders Ridge Invitational by competing in challenges and progressing your career in a handful of different sports. There's the mountain bike events that are mostly downhill races or trick events, snowboard and skiing, which are kind of interchangeable, and use races and trick competitions where the goal is to score points and land big tricks, and the wing and rocket suit that let you glide or straight up fly through the sky. You do also collect toys that help you traverse and explore the map, like rocket bikes, snowmobiles, and rocket skis, which is actually something I had a really good time with. I often find myself going off the beaten path with a snowmobile or a paramotor looking for weird jumps and gaps, which there are a lot of. While you're out free roaming, you can actually switch between any of these sports whenever you want, or just unequip it, which gives you a ton of freedom to do what you want, when you want. Let's talk about gameplay. The gameplay of Riders Republic is an odd thing to talk about because there is just so much variety and different ways you can play the game. So what I'll do is I'll give each of the sports a quick rundown. Starting off with the bikes, these are fast, and I think out of all of the sports, this is where players looking to race will be hanging out. There are two types of bike events: your standard downhill go fast races where you need to place to win, and trick events with purpose-built ramps where your overall trick score within a set number of tricks is the deciding factor. But the downhill races, in my opinion, are the best way to play with the mountain bikes. That's coming from someone who really likes to play trick games. There's just something about the trick competitions using the bikes that felt a little odd and clunky, but when you start a race, especially in the first person view, they are fast and they feel fast. Now you can see this as a pro or a con, but one thing I have to say about the bike races is they can feel a little wild and out of control. Highly competitive people might not be a fan of this, but personally I actually quite liked it. It added to the adrenaline-fueled chaos that I think Riders Republic is trying to build. But what about snow sports? Well, take everything I just said about the bikes and flip it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the snow races, they are fun, but the snow trick competitions. This was the part of the game that just felt like home. From the feeling of the tricks and how they control, to the purpose-built snow parks that cater to everyone, whether you're looking for big jumps, techie grinds, or whether you want something a bit more creative. There's just a ton to do. In my spare time, if I have 10 minutes to chill, I'll make a coffee, put my feet up, and brainlessly jump into a game like Session or Skater XL and do a few tricks before I have to move on to whatever I need to do. And booting up Riders Republic, quick travelling to a park or a good downhill route on skis or a board gave me that same chilled out, put your feet up vibe. At one point I was actually exploring and I found myself in a little town watching a bunch of players have a session on a simple rail down a set of stairs, which was just good to see. And on a small tangent, this is an incredibly alive feeling world with players everywhere you look, which is done with a very clever little trick by Ubisoft, but I will dig into that a little more shortly. Next, let's talk about the rocket suit and the wingsuit. The rocket suit controls just like you're flying a small plane. You point your character in a direction and off you go. I've actually used the rocket suit more as a way to get around and explore, but the wingsuit, something I didn't think I'd enjoy, is actually a really good time. It's a little like controlling a fast-moving parachute in most games. You pull back to catch wind, gain height and slow down, or you can skim just above the ground and gain speed as you go, which feels really good. There's just something serene about bombing down a mountain, dodging trees as you go. It's awesome. But you know what else is awesome? This is a mass event and it is easily one of the highlights of Riders Republic. These are 64 player races on next gen and PC, or 20 players on PS4 and Xbox One that take you on multi-round races, with each race passing you through gates that switch your equipment as you go. So you could start downhill racing on skis, the next thing you know you're on a rocket suit dodging other players, then to finish it's a mad dash downhill on bikes. These races are the definition of chaos and something you really have to try, even if you don't usually like to go up against other players. It's crazy, but it's good crazy. Mass events trigger every 30 minutes or so, and they're pretty easy to get to. You'll get a notification on screen letting you know a mass event will be starting soon, then you either get to the starting point, or you can fast travel straight from the main camp to the starting point. They're mad, fun, and worth jumping into if you ever get a chance. There are also a bunch of different exploration things and toys you can unlock that can be used to get around or just mess about with. Snowmobiles, pizza delivery bikes, paramotors, rocket skis, rocket bikes, and the list goes on. Some of these are really fun, others you will only use once and then probably never again, but if you want a good time, rocket skis plus snowpark equals ridiculous jumps. Riders Republic's biggest strength is variety, meaning that there is definitely something for everyone. Or if you've been hitting the slopes, maybe you get a bit bored, switch to a bike or a wingsuit and the gameplay suddenly feels completely different. I think this is a good time to talk about a few other features like the rewind. Let's say you're bombing down a hill on your mountain bike, take a wrong turn, and send yourself hurtling down a mountainside. No problem, just rewind. This is a great feature for a wrong turn, but if you are in a race and you need to rewind, only you will stop and rewind, everyone else will keep moving, so you may lose a few places. I've also been using this as almost like a checkpoint system too, so if I want to use a ramp or a rail and want to keep going back to the start and try different tricks, I've been using this just to head back to the top. The way the game is able to rewind you back is the same way it creates such an alive feeling game world. As you take a look at the map or move through an area, you are surrounded by other players, flying through the air in wingsuits or cutting across on bikes. And this gives you the feeling that you really are sharing the world with hundreds of other players, but they aren't actually there, at least not at that moment, and this is all done with a little trick at Ubisoft's end. They essentially have a system that records runs and rides done by other players and stores them all on their servers, and it's these ghosts you see in the open world and in races against AI. It's super effective and it really adds a lot to the vibe of the game as you're roaming around. Like most games these days, you will find an in-game store in Riders Republic, but currently everything in there is purely cosmetic. I say that, but to be honest I don't know how you could add anything in this game that would be pay to win, but you know what I mean. There are two currencies, Republic coins, which are the paid for currency, and the in-game earnable currency. You can buy certain things from the in-game store only using the in-game currency, which is always nice to see. But quite a few of the more out there outfits you can only pick up with the Republic coins, which is kind of to be expected. Riders Republic is a game set to be around for a while, so I imagine the in-game store is one of the ways they set to fund future expansions. As a quick note on performance, I've been running the game on PC with a 2080 Ti and an i7-8700K with all of the settings at max, and I haven't seen the game drop below 100 FPS. Most of the time it runs happy around 130 to 120 FPS, with 100 being the lower end in busy or built up areas. Overall, I've been really enjoying my time with Riders Republic. It's a game that can be as easygoing or chaotic as you want it to be, and I found it refreshingly different compared to a lot of things I've been playing recently. I can see a lot of potential with the variety the game gives players, but something I would love to see for Riders Republic is to keep adding different sports and areas with future updates. Skateboarding, inline, surfing, rock climbing, wakeboarding, with all of them adding new map pieces, bodies of water to surf on, or skate parks. I want to see Riders Republic evolve into a game that builds on the variety it already has, creating a go-to game for all extreme sports. Currently, I would say if you enjoy racing or extreme sports games, I would recommend giving it a go, especially if you were a fan of Ubisoft's previous snow sport game, Steep. This has been a bit different from my usual content, but there is a Division 2 video that will be up on the channel very soon after this one. If you've watched this whole video, I thank you. While there isn't much to talk about Division 2 wise, I still want to be creating videos, which means I may touch on a few other topics. So if you enjoyed this one and would like to see more videos like this, first impressions, reviews, and videos on general topics in the gaming space, let me know. But as always, if you've enjoyed this video, giving it a like goes a long way, and don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.